a lot of the best connections, of course, they happen when you're doing ride-alongs or when you're hanging out informally or when you're on the softball team, that kind of thing. So, and just to come back to that mind-body connection, that mental and physical health connection, you brought up so many great examples there, but the list goes on and on, right? I mean,
Sure.
we know, for example, depression is associated with decreased life expectancy. Post-traumatic stress disorder associated with decreased life expectancy. Alcohol abuse associated with decreased life expectancy. And then we've got suicidal ideation and suicide, of course. And when we're talking about the mortal threat to the lives of those out there doing the most important, dangerous, high-risk work in our societies, we have to pay more attention to these issues. Gut health, of course, we know is tied to mental health. You got to ask the question, why have we historically separated these things when they are so interconnected?
I think you answered the question. It's historic. I think Descartes asked the same question, centuries ago, and this whole mind-body separation. I think it had to do with how we transitioned from being theocracies to being democracies. But one of the things I looked at when I was trying to find out why are these illnesses happening to cops, and the more I could read, I kept referring back to the work of Dr. John Violante, who empirically determined the different disease entities and the epidemiological rates that impact policing. I think his excellent work, Dying for the Job, his book articulates these. But as I read that and looked through it, one of the things that struck me is in almost all of these disease entities, there were common flags that popped up. And whether we're talking about heart disease or diabetes and cancers, we looked at incremental weight gain, the levels of obesity, and sleep disorder. And those two just seem to occur repetitively. And I always say, in my mind's eye, those are the two markers of police stress. Trauma exposure, yes, those are stressors that can precipitate a reaction, but the precursors to clinical impairment, I believe, are that incremental weight gain that creeps in. And again, cops are always joking about the donuts and joking about gaining weight, but it's not a joking matter, and that's, again, that whole metabolic syndrome of stress, where the adrenal cortical response leads to infusion of glucose into the fat cells around the abdominal area. But the other is sleep disorder. And when we have sleep disorder, we start having impairment in reaction time and judgment. And so the very things that will make our officers better tactically, in this case, when we do interventions for incremental weight gain and stop normalizing it, and training and sleep impairment, then we start maybe preventing these diseases from occurring. And I look at curriculums, and many times, there's very rarely at in-service training do officers have and their partners receive training in sleep hygiene. It should be a core element to every bit like firearms or defensive tactics or driving.